Hello and welcome back to Paddle Forward Podcast, the podcast where we navigate life's currents. My name is Anacani Walters, and I am your guide today on navigating life's transitions and giving you some tools for resilience and growth. And so I am driving as I'm recording this just to make sure that it gets done and I show up for y'all. How are you, my loves? How are you, beautiful? I hope this podcast finds you well. And if it doesn't, know that I'm sending you virtual positive thoughts. There's just so much going on in the world right now. A lot, a lot. And there's just a lot of people hurting, people suffering, people just in devastation and the struggle is real. And I know that it's very common to feel kind of you get self absorbed in all of the news and if it's somebody that's close to you that's being affected by it, there's so much going on globally. It's just can be very exhausting, very in a sense traumatizing, to a secondary standpoint, to just be exposed to all of this content and imagery and of people suffering everywhere. um and we get caught up in it and we feel helpless, and it can just really spiral us down this not so healthy path. And I wanted to just come on because this stuff is just becoming more and more prevalent, and thanks to social media and the news, we're more connected to things like this, like that are tragedies and devastations around the world more than ever. And I was participating in a 3-day workshop with Leonie Lewis, and she goes into it more in depth in one of the quest days. And it was really powerful to have her break it down in the fact that, we used to not have this much news in terms of like information coming to us about like in such a specific magnitudal, is that even a word, like way, like with imagery and video and just 24/7 footage and reporting. And it's just really changing how we're absorbing what's happening in the world, and a lot of people are getting overwhelmed, and it's almost, I think, instilling a sense of fear. And you guys know that fear's a big thing. I talk about it constantly, and this mindset, of overcoming fear. Fear can be a really nasty, nasty thing if we allow it to hold us captive. It will keep you paralyzed in life. It will keep you from enjoying life fully, and it will keep you from being able to accept abundance and opportunities that might be there. And you're just, life has you too afraid to do anything, or maybe even recognize it in some instances. And so, as a military spouse, I feel like we are in a little bit of a different world and realm. A lot of people just struggle in military life, especially if they're very new to it, because it's just a very high stress, ever changing environment. You're constantly dealing with your spouse being present and then sometimes being gone for long periods of time. Everything that is affecting the world from a military, like national security perspective, always hits home for us the hardest, because we know that it's our spouses, our children, if they decided to enroll, sign up for the military because they've been exposed to it and they found, they heard the calling. For me, both my brothers enlisted after I enlisted, and we knew it impacted our family the biggest because we knew that we would be out there on the front line and in the war, firsthand. and it's a different perspective on a lot. And so, we are still waiting for our orders. We still don't have them. We don't know where we're going and when we're going. We just know that it's happening this year. And that's been a little frustrating to just kind of continue to live life, but know that at any point, like the plug's going to be pulled and you're just going to have to get evacuated from a life that you've built over we've been here for 6 years. This is the first place that we've been here the longest. Normally it's only a 2 to 3 year rotation, but because of COVID and some other circumstances, we ended up getting extended in Japan a lot longer than traditionally. And so from that perspective, just we've built a lot of friendships, and I've had massive opportunities that I've been able to have from a business perspective. And it's just a little heartbreaking to know that I'm going to have to say goodbye and start all over, you know, possibly in the next 6 months. And so, having said all that, there's just so much. We talk about so much. We talk about life and parenthood and pregnancy and postpartum and life in general, military spouse life. And the best thing that I can do is really just give you the best advice that I have for myself, which is I've been through so much just in my own personal life. I've seen a lot of tragedy as an oncology, surgical oncology nurse, and being in emergency medicine and just in general. And at the end of the day, from anything, from just your own personal trauma all the way to giving birth to your first baby or your second or your fifth or your 10th, to losing somebody that you loved, to experiencing, devastation, like the fires in LA. There's not a lot we can control in a lot of these situations. And the only thing that you can control is your breath. And that's why mindfulness practices are just so powerful to me. That's why I continue to do them, and not just do them, but learn how to teach them better, learn how to do them better for myself, and why I'm teaching my son how to do them. Because if I would have learned this lesson earlier on, I think I would have saved myself a lot of just grief and uh, just a lot of negative and bad choices that I've made because I didn't deal with some of the stuff that I was going through because I didn't know how. And I'm not saying that breathing techniques are going to save the world and make everything sunshine and rainbows. It is not, but it definitely helps you have that moment to take a step back, to gather the information that you need, to help your body and your mind feel a little bit, desensitized so that you can manage the stress a little bit better and move forward. That's the whole point, is that we can easily allow the situations to keep us from moving forward in life, to keep us stuck in a place of resentment, to keep us in a place of anger. And I've experienced those of being stuck in an emotional state from a trauma. And it's not the purpose of life. That really wasn't, I don't believe, why we're here, to have something, not great happen to us, to only be stuck and live in that space forever. You hear my son in the background. Hopefully not, but if you do, I apologize. So your breath is really your superpower. I say this over and over in my yoga classes. It can help as something as simple as just being able to hold a yoga pose for a little bit longer than you'd like, all the way to just managing strong emotions that come up. Then they're so powerful for exercises for even like my son who, I'm trying to tell him when he gets really worked up, like, take a deep breath. And, he does it. He understands the concept. And that feeling of also letting go in the sense of making yourself have that breath to give yourself a moment to absorb what's going on, to get the information you need, to remind yourself that it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. Help yourself feel safe in the moment when you can, and then to feel the emotions. A lot of the times I lived most of my life kind of constipated to emotions. Like, I did not like experiencing emotions, public displays of affection, public crying, awful, like, no. And it wasn't until I really started to work through some of the, things that I had been through that had basically created these negative kind of barriers that I've created for myself to, in a way, keep me safe. It also was hindering me from being open to, being in healthy relationships in all aspects of life, to being more fearless, to being more grateful, to being more appreciative, to being more happy. There was just so much, and a lot of that I internalized, and I think that that played a big part in a lot of my medical problems that I had in my early 20s, that I, carried and had dealt with until my late 30s, and then finally, started to really understand the true power of mindfulness. And there's so much more to just breathing, but breathing is such a powerful tool that if you can master, like, it's the gift that keeps on giving. There's so many pranayamas, which pranayama is the fancy yoga word for breath work, that you can do. There's alternate nostril breathing. There's ujjayi breath, which is called the ocean's breath. Um, there's, box breathing and three-part, just something basic like three-part breath, like just learning how to work with your diaphragm so that it helps you go, um, desensitize your central nervous system when it's, in that fight or flight. And then you can move forward. Then you can understand, like, what can you do to help this situation? For me, there's not a lot I can do for a lot of the catastrophes that are happening worldwide, other than do my best to be amazing at my job so that I can bring in income, change the lives of the people that are supporting my business, and then using that abundance to then give to charities or foundations that are actually able to make the difference in the people that are dealing with the devastation. Um, and if nothing else, to help by teaching people the power of the breath in yoga. That's why I'm teaching 3 to 5 times a week, and spreading that. That's my superpower. That's what I can do. I can't do a lot, but I can teach people the same superpower that I'm learning to harness for myself. And, I'm passing it on to my family. And it's hard sometimes to remind yourself, but that's why I'm constantly saying, inhale the peace and exhale the chaos. Um, because you can do so much more better when you're in a better state of mind. Once you kind of, again, take that moment to just release the emotion and feel it, cry. I'm a big advocate of just crying it out. You'll feel so much better, and let your body release all that toxic that it's holding on to. And then your mind will feel so much lighter and clearer, and then you'll be able to make better decisions about how to make things better, how to give hope to other people, how to give hope to the world, how to continue to shine your light, even when it's in a very dark moment. Because I love the quote, in light, darkness grows, but in darkness, light shines. And wow, even saying it out loud, I kind of got a little bit emotional, but It is one of my favorite quotes because it is, it is what gets me through. Um, and it has gotten me through in some of my darkest moments. Uh, so I hope you found this podcast episode a little bit helpful. And, if you're like, well, this is great, Anacani, how do I do pranayama? How do I do a deep breath? The the best way to do it, to really guide you really quick, if you have a few minutes to spare, is to put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly, and it doesn't matter which one goes where. You need to close your eyes so that you can tap into your body, so that you can really feel what you're trying to do. Because most people who have never done or learned yogi breathing are diaphragmatic breathers. And so they're very shallow breathers. They breathe only into literally their chest, and that's it. You need to rewire your brain and your breathing muscles so that it actually brings the breath into your belly first and not your chest. So when you breathe, you want to focus on that bottom hand and inhale through your nose and bring that breath into your belly first. You literally will let the entire belly relax, all those muscles relax. You basically will do the opposite if you're a woman, where you're just gonna let that belly like go and just pooch out, like embrace it. It's beautiful. And then bring that breath, let it travel up to your ribs. And then that last little breath, you feel the little rise in the top hand in your chest. And then as you exhale, you're going to relax your shoulders, release the breath from your chest, then your ribs, and then you hug your belly in, bring in that belly button, and as if you were drawing it to your inner spine to get them to touch together. And you continue to breathe that way. You're inhaling through your nose, bringing that breath into your bottom hand first, the belly, all the way into your ribs and into your chest. And then as you exhale, relax your shoulders, relax your chest, relax the ribs, hug your belly button in into your inner spine. And you continue to breathe that way. The magic number is always three. You always want to take at least three breaths to get the best effect. You can do it as many times as you want after, but try to at least shoot for three. So if you're doing like a ujjayi breath, do three ujjayi breaths before you stop. And you just feel better. With the alternate nostril breathing, that's a little bit more complex. And that one you actually, it's better to do at least like four cycles of the entire breath. And so I'll be diving into these. I actually have YouTube channels that I'll link into the show notes for this podcast on three-part breath, Ujjayi breath, and I think I even teach the alternate nostril breathing. So if you really want to dive in, I encourage you to go to my YouTube channel for my Anacani Walters brand, and I do break them down each individually into three different videos. And so that would definitely help you. But know that I'm here rooting for you, especially if you're in a dark space right now. I'm sending you as much, love and virtual hugs as I can, and know that it's going to be okay. Just take it one breath at a time, one moment at a time, one day at a time. You got this. Keep paddling forward. Stay beautiful. Stay you. Inhale the peace. Exhale the chaos. I will catch you in the next episode.